Welcome to Kava and Kettlebells, where we talk about kava, fitness, and life. Let's get kavafied.
All right, hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to Kava and Kettlebells. This is Charles.
Hey guys, this is Heidi. Thank you so much for tuning back in. If you haven't already, take 5 seconds, go ahead and thumbs up this episode, hit the bell to subscribe, share with your friends and family, and follow us on Instagram at Kava_Kettlebells. All right, today we are super excited. We are on site at Botanical Brewing Company, and we are here interviewing James, who is the master brewer there, and we're so excited. So James, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And so, James, this is actually our first time here at Botanical Brewing, the tap room. We've tried some of, because I know it's a sister company of Kava Culture, correct?
Correct, yes.
Cool.
It is.
So we've tried some of the Kava Culture, drinks out before, been to the bars, but this is our actual first time down here at the tap room here in Cape Coral. So pretty excited, man, for you to, kind of show us, like, I guess how all the magic happens, behind the scenes, some of the brewing processes, and then obviously we want to pick your brain on how you kind of formulated some of this stuff, and then, we'll, being Kava and Kettlebells, you're into fitness, so we'll probably touch on some of the fitness aspect too.
Awesome. Well, first off, welcome to Botanical Brewing Company. I appreciate you guys coming down. And yeah, I'm really excited to be able to talk with you guys on this. What we get to do here it's really impactful to the community. So definitely excited to talk about all that fun stuff.
Absolutely. And, the one thing with Kava bars, obviously, very much is about community. So you probably see behind us, it's a Saturday morning right now. So, places are starting to get, busy, people coming in, which is awesome because, again, for people who've never been to a Kava bar, it is all about community. It's all about sharing these drinks together and just having a good time. So,
absolutely. I definitely agree with that. It is all based around community here. We will get busy at the most random times of the day because everybody comes from every walk of life and we have all these different schedules, but they all end up at the same place. They share the same kind of experience, and it's something that's different than the norm. And that's what I'm excited to help change. Absolutely. Changing the norm.
I love that. So I know you guys have the actual brewing in the back. Is that something, we would love to kind of see a tour? Is that something that you offer to the public as well, or do you kind of keep that private?
No, actually we do. Mostly on the weekends we'll do tours. When we do our cold plunges out here, one of us will be running the cold plunge, the other one will take people back to the back and give them tours of the brewery. So we definitely do tours of that, or on other special events and special occasions we will do tours of the brewery, especially on our anniversaries. Anytime we hit our year marks, we take people through the brewery, show them everything, answer any questions people have. We have a lot of special guests that come through. A lot of our franchisees will come through and give them a tour of the facility, or any new distributors, anybody that we're bringing on, they love to come and check it out. So we're always happy to accommodate and show people the process where the magic happens.
Now you mentioned cold plunge. Is that something that do you open that up to the public? And tell me more about that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Every Saturday and Sunday here at Botanical Brewing Company, we do a cold plunge from 12 till 3. It is open to everybody. Sign your waiver and hop on in. Stay in as long as you want. It's up to you. It's between you and the cold water and your reaction. I tell you what, at first it's a bit rough, but it's amazing when you get out of it. The feeling you get from it is my favorite.
Yeah, I think slamming down some white kratom, then going to the cold plunge sounds good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Get your blood flow up a little bit, and then you constrict it. And when you hop out, your body just feels like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. At first, when you get in it, you're not going to feel that. But after you get out of it, you're like, yes, I'm going to do that again tomorrow,
So I am curious, James, you mentioned one thing you said, you guys open this up for like anniversaries. So just curious, like how long has this location been here? And then even like Botanical Brewing, how long have you all been operating so far?
So actually, back in the beginning of March was 5 years that we actually started Botanical Brewing Company in the back of our Fort Myers Beach location. We actually used to brew it all in the back in an area that's about the size of the corner of that room over there, about a 15 by 15 square foot area.
Oh, wow.
Did it by hand until we got to the point where we just couldn't keep up with it. Then we started doing it also out of our Port Charlotte location. So I went back and forth between the two just to keep up with supplying our bars. At that point, it became too much, and we had to get this, and it blew up from there.
Nice.
We started just before COVID hit, and I maintained and kept it up going, and just did all the R&D during COVID, and was working in the back, keeping everything going. And when we came out of COVID, we had a product there that it was something different than everything else that was out on the market.
Nice.
And it was really exciting to see the reaction because everybody's just now coming back to being able to hang out in
Yeah,
the Kava
yeah,
bar
yep.
after being trapped in their house for months. And it's like, whoa, what is this? So it was really fun. It was really cool. And we've been at this location. It will be 5 years in this coming November that we'll have been at this location.
Okay. Awesome, man. So I guess during COVID then, the bars are shut down, obviously, but you were all allowed to come in here and, I guess make taste tests, all that. So was like the team fairly small when you guys were doing that?
So
Brennan, or was it, I
Maybe
guess,
you
yeah,
have
he
to
was.
kind of like wink, wink on the topic.
No. So the thing is we could still serve Kava and Kratom. It was all to go.
Oh, okay,
So-
gotcha.
So when this happened, everything was coming down for the amount that we were selling because we're closing down partially and we're just doing to go. So the family aspect wasn't there. It was people were coming to grab their drink and then heading back home.
Okay.
So, everybody was down in sales at that time. Everybody was slow.
Yeah.
So I actually opted to become a Kava tender and brew at the same time. So I would be up front, pouring drinks, and then go into the back and maintaining brewing and just keeping it going because there wasn't that much going on. I mean, it was the middle of COVID.
Right.
So I just basically was able to keep that going. And then, here and there, when people were around that I could, test stuff out to, we would have them taste test and, it would, most of the time it would be something epic. Every once in a while in the very beginning, it's like, nope, that's not going to be the flavor today.
Right, it didn't hit the mark.
Yeah, but that's why we hold ourselves to that standard. If it doesn't hit the mark, I don't put it out again. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, no, I like that. I think that's good too, to have actual customer feedback. 'Cause I do feel like some brands do that. They kind of taste in a vacuum. And if you have the same 5 people drinking something over and over again, it's going to taste good. You guys are going to vibe off that. But to actually have other people, customers or whoever it might, be that's not in the process come in and be like, hey, that doesn't taste good.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay, well, let me go back to the drawing board or try something different.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's kind of how the process happens when it comes to the whole taste testing and brewing process. When we get something started, we make a single keg of it, and I will bring it up front here after it's ready. We'll put it on tap. And if it moves in 24, 48 hours, if it's gone, hey, we did good. If it's sitting there more than 48 hours, it's not going to be repeated. So it's a really quick census, and we get a lot of feedback from everybody here. So having that community out here tasting it, like a broad spectrum of people tasting it on a regular basis, lets us know, hey, this is great, or hey, this didn't quite hit the mark. Even though we loved it, the general consensus is it just wasn't quite good enough to move fast enough. If something's gone in 24 hours, it's probably going to end up in a can.
Yeah, hands down.
I do. I like that. Now, do you tell them, customers, do you tell them this is a new product and you want feedback on it, or do you just kind of serve it and see what happens?
No, we let them know when we have new stuff on tap, what we call tap vats. We let everybody know, hey, here's a one-off. Try it out. They'll give them a sample, let them taste it. If they like it, they'll end up ordering a drink. And that's how we end up being able to gauge. The drink sale itself will show up in the system and it'll show how fast it ends up moving because that's what's going to actually move it. Pouring samples doesn't burn through the keg very quick.
Yeah.
So if you have a lot of people tasting it, not many people really drinking it, the keg will last a little bit. But no, it's a really good feedback reaction that we get from everybody on a regular basis to be able to make the final decision on it.
So, question too, and this is for people who haven't been to a kava bar. Sometimes they just think it's just kava, right? But you have kava here, you have kratom, and you guys have the Delta 8, Delta 9 on tap. So what would you say, on an average week, do you guys go through more kratom, kava, Delta 8, Delta 9, or is it a pretty good mix?
I mean, it's a pretty decent mix, but I would say we probably move through the most kratom. And after that, when it comes to taps and cans, I would say Delta 9, especially the lemon pound cake, is a really fast mover.
That's good.
Tiki Apple is our #1 seller. It's our second longest running can and flavor in general. But Kava, it moves a decent bit too. And it seems that when people come in, they hear it's a Kava bar. They come in for the Kava, but they end up with kratom a lot of times. But slowly as they come, they start leaning more towards Kava and more towards Kava. And it becomes more the thing that they end up drinking 50-50. But a lot of times right off the bat, people will come in and the taste of the kratom ends up keeping them here versus the taste of the kava. As we know, kava is very earthy, very rooty, a little bit peppery, and it can be a bit abrupt for some people right off the bat. But when you end up getting them a nice smooth tap of kratom, they come in and be like, okay, this is different. This is something I can drink. And that's why we created that. So yeah, the Delta 9 is the second best mover. Kratom is the number one, and then Kava is very close behind. So they all move pretty well, but the Tiki Apple and the Lemon Pound Cake, those are our tops. Those are our number one sellers.
Yeah, and kratom, there's much less barriers of entry for someone to get into kratom than there is kava. There's, just a lot of barriers with kava. Of course, you guys make it taste very good, with your drinks. But even just the feelings, as you're aware, that reverse tolerance. And so the first time someone's trying kava, they might not feel it. Whereas kratom, you're going to feel it the first time you drink it. So I get that, bring them in with the kratom and then try and hope to hook them onto the kava. Do you, for your personal life, have a preference in do you use one over the other, or do you just depends on, what mood, what desired outcome you're looking for?
Everything depends on what I'm looking for, what I'm doing that day, what I'm dealing with or going through that day, because everything has its benefit. So, your white kratom is more of like a pick-me-up. Your yellow kratom's a little bit more of, a physical energizing, where your greens, your mood, your reds relaxing. And kava all has a different effect like we were discussing earlier. Some kavas can lift you up a little more, some can bring you down a little bit more. So it just really depends on what my goal is for the day or what time of the day it is. Yeah. I honestly, it's a pretty even split between the both. I lean a little bit more towards the kratom, but I love my kava as well. It's great for my social anxiety. It really makes me a lot more calm and relaxed, and it helps me to be able to communicate with people a lot better on a more even basis than if I didn't have it. My life before it was a lot different.
Yeah, I highly agree with you in the fact that, definitely pick the right ingredient for the right time. But I'm with you in the fact that I think, kava for me especially, it makes me more social. And kratom I like because I get more physical energy from it.
Yeah.
So for me, kratom is great for working out. I like kava in the social setting, but even times like this, right now I'm sipping on the Cat 5, right? And this is green, white, and red kratom all together,
yes.
Which tastes good, by the way, too. Which is hard to mask. Kratom has a very specific taste to it. So when you can mask it nicely, it's always a good thing. But I can still drink this, and chill with it. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to go work out with this. I can still just have this, relax, and be in a good mood from it as well.
Yeah, the full spectrum kratom is probably one of my favorite things because it doesn't have one specific effect. It actually kind of almost adapts to your mood and what you're needing and what you're feeling that day. What is the chemical response that your body is looking for, and it kind of will navigate itself. People have to be really, really sensitive to one strain versus the other for it to guide one way or the other. For the most part, your body gets what it needs from it when it's the full spectrum like that. And that is one of the things I do love about our full spectrum kratom. And it's fun getting to mask the flavors. When people try to say, wait, that's kratom? I've had kratom before. It doesn't taste like it. It's like,
no, it's kratom.
I love it. I love it. It's one of my favorite things to see people smile and be like, wait, this is way different than what I had last time.
Yeah. I can get into this.
Yeah.
I love what you said a little bit earlier about kava and sort of breaking down the anxieties and making you more social. And that's what I think is one of the huge benefits of kava bars is the idea. It's hard to explain for people, but when you drink kava, it opens you up. It allows you to talk. Someone said once, it lets the real person out. And I loved hearing that. And that really is what a kava bar is all about. It's, that community and that socialization, but not in an awkward way that alcohol, makes you.
Yeah.
It just makes you just happy and your true self. Have you seen that in, the community that you've built within the kava bar, within, the tap room? Have you seen that sort of, people come in a little more antisocial and then leave just, happy and friendly?
Absolutely. So that's one thing that I would say is a big attributing factor to what we call the kava community. we come in here looking for a drink, looking for a feeling and effect, but we end up with a family because we end up talking to people that we normally wouldn't, because everybody just becomes so open, so social, so inviting that it's really hard to close off. Like,
Yeah.
it is really hard to close off. And then the kava just instigates the rest of it. It makes you want to open up. It gives you that just little bit of a relaxing yet uplifting feeling, which is an interesting combination. Most people think relaxing yet uplifting. Yeah, no, it is. And until you try it, it's hard to fathom. But it gives you that effect that it makes you want to talk to people, but it makes you mentally relaxed enough that you can talk to people. Because sometimes people will be anxious and they'll want to talk to people, but they'll be trapped in their own little bubble. I know the feeling very well. I used to be very antisocial, but now I can walk up to anybody. And part of it, I don't even have to have the kava or the kratom anymore because I've learned to train my brain, because it allowed me to get to that point. But if I didn't have that to start with, I wouldn't have been able to retrain my brain to get to that point.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so I think that's a huge point that you just made. So it's not, a lot of people will say, well, isn't that a crutch then? But what you're saying is it's not. Like, it was that tool that helped you teach your brain in order to function that way, even without the substance.
Correct, yes. So when it comes to it, like, I would never just walk up to random people at any social event, any party, anywhere out there and just start talking to people, because I was in my own head, my own little bubble, and I was literally afraid of how people would react and perceive me, and, you know, if they would take me in or not. And once I started trying Kava and Kratom, I realized, well, one, it doesn't matter what people think of you in that moment. And two, most people are actually a lot more receptive to talking to others than you think. And once you lower that barrier and you break through that, you just get past that in your mind. That's the biggest hurdle. It's getting past what we perceive in our mind, because our mind will keep us comfortable. And we'll use that fear to keep us in this little safe place. But once you have something that helps you to get past that point, it's just like a pre-workout. It helps us to get past that point in our workout. It helps us to get in there. This is the same thing. It helps you get past that little mental hurdle. And it gets you there to where you can retrain and reprogram your brain and basically become comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Yeah, and I think, you know, if someone is hearing this and being like, yeah, like whatever, guys, like that's a crutch. Like I highly disagree. And coming back to what you said, I mean, everyone does something to get by, right? Even if it's like a mental trick they have to do, like everyone somehow compensates some way to get through their day. And I'm always the belief in, you know, like you mentioned, like pre-workout. This kind of reminds me. So I've talked to a lot of people before, and they're like, "Oh, I don't need pre-workout. Like I'm too good for it. Or like, you know, whatever, too macho, whatever." And it's like, well, like, what does it do for you? You know, it does a lot for you other than like what you think is just like a quick burst of energy. There's ingredients in there to give you strength, endurance, right? Focus. So it has all these benefits. So why would you not want to perform better?
Yeah.
You know, so same thing with like Kava and Kratom. Like, why wouldn't you want to feel better? And if you know you're going to a situation where maybe you do have social anxiety or you're nervous, why wouldn't you want something to help you get past that barrier? And again, you do it enough, and then like you just said, you found out that situation, oh, it's not so bad. It's not so bad talking to someone new. So yes, I like Kava, but maybe this time I don't need it because it allowed me to get through a few situations to now I'm not afraid or I'm not anxious about it. So, you know, because I've heard that before too. People are like, oh, Kava, Kratom, you know, it's also just a crutch, you know, for not using like alcohol. It's like, no, it's two very separate things. Yes, you can use it as an alcohol replacement, but it's a much different experience.
It is completely a different experience. Absolutely. Having the feeling of, you know, this happy, euphoric, yet freeness, without having that feeling of intoxication and impairment, it's something you can't fathom until you try it, until you experience it. And I would have never, like, I would have looked at people that like, you're talking about what? Huh? But once you feel it, that freedom that you get from it, it's way different. It's another option. You know, that's what we lack up here is options. And this is becoming the option for people. And instead of being a crutch, instead of being something that just tries to hold you up, it's just an option. It's an option. Like, this is what I want to do today. This is what I want to go experience today and have fun, you know? And people are finding that to be, you know, a much healthier option. And that's the beautiful thing about it, is we can have this and not worry about, okay, what do we just do to our brain? What do we just do to our body? Like the physical restrictions that it causes on it. But, you know, to people who think it's a crutch, you know, I honestly, I let them think it is until they get to try it for themselves. I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to show you the science. But when you're ready, you're going to come around. You know, and you can't force them to do it. But eventually, most people will all come around. And when they do, they're like, wow, I should have got in here sooner. 90% of my friends have ended up in here, and they're like, why didn't I get here sooner? I'd be like, I've been trying for the last 4 years. You know, it's seriously. And they're
Eventually you pull them in.
Yep. Once they just come in, and honestly, I'll mention it, and they'll end up coming in on their own eventually. And I'll be like, oh shoot, hey, you're here, and they'll try it, and then I see them 5 days a week after that, just because they're like, yeah, you know, no, I need my pick-me-up today in the morning. You know, they just get off coffee. They don't need it. Like, coffee is one of the biggest crutches that we have.
100%. It's the biggest drug we have, and people don't see it that way, but
absolutely.
it is.
Yeah, and it affects your adrenal glands a lot more than any of this will. And it is a temporary stimulant versus a long-term stimulant, you know, versus something that's a long-term, more, not even as much a stimulant, it's more of just a boost, a pick-me-up, because it doesn't really cause your blood to circulate at a higher rate. It doesn't really overstimulate the adrenal glands or anything like that. So it's like we said, an option. It's something else to end up doing it, because coffee is one of the biggest crutches we have as society, caffeine in general.
Yeah.
You know, people are sitting there pounding down energy drinks and say, oh, well, kratom's a crutch. Like, seriously?
I'm 100% with you on that, man. 100%.
And I just read a study, and it was explaining how caffeine it's an antidepressant. So it feels good, right? You take that caffeine like you're happy, but when people come off of caffeine, basically you're deregulating your body, so your body can't produce that chemical on its own.
Mm-hmm.
And when you come off of caffeine, boom, you go down and you are extremely depressed. And if we found caffeine now, like, I feel like there's no way we would legalize it. But as a society, we're so addicted to it that, you know, that's the answer. Anyways, tell us about, we didn't ask you, you know, what was your first Kava experience? Like, what brought you into Kava? We always kind of like to hear that.
So, you know, I was single in the dating scene, and I had stopped drinking alcohol. And trying to date when you don't drink alcohol, it's very interesting, to say the least. Most people won't actually meet you out for a drink if you're not going to drink with them. If they don't want to be impaired, if you're not impaired too.
Right.
And I actually had somebody, I started telling people up front and said, hey, I don't drink. And I had somebody say, hey, well, let's meet at a Kava bar. I was like, okay, sure, let me try this out. Met him down at our Bonita location. And I walked up, I ordered the strongest drink, being a tough guy, and I got about halfway through it. And I was really anxious before this. Like, this girl was beautiful, and I'm like, holy smokes, like, what did I get myself into? I get halfway through the drink, and all of my anxiety was gone. I'm sitting there talking to her like I've known her for 20 years. And I was...
It's crazy how Kava does that, right?
Yeah, I was blown away. It was epic for me, because going from super anxious to being able to just talk to somebody like I've known them forever, it was life-changing. And at that point, I was all about it. I started traveling on a regular basis down to Bonita, not realizing that there was one right around the corner. And and then I met Caroline, one of the owners of Kava Culture, and met Jacqueline shortly thereafter, and it kind of just escalated, and it became a thing. But that first interaction that I had with Kava, it changed my perspective on what was possible. Because before that, I used to have to think, I'm going to live with anxiety like this. I'm going to live with this anxiousness, this feeling of restriction on how I can talk to people, and the way that it changes your social interaction. And that one interaction changed how I looked at everything. And at that point, I realized I don't need prescription meds to be able to help me with this stuff anymore. I don't need all these chemicals when I have something that's natural, that can do a lot more with a lot less side effects. You know, I don't have to worry about what's going to happen to my brain long term. You know, talking about caffeine and the long-term effects of it, pharmaceuticals, the long-term effects of those is 1,000,000 times worse than most things. And people will put it in their body regularly, And like, I mean, it's great. I get it from the doctor. And they're like, yeah, okay. It's whatever you want it to be for yourself for now, until you realize later on that, wow, I just did a lot to my body.
Yeah, and
SSRIs especially, man, antidepressants. I mean, I don't think like, and this is like a whole nother tangent, but like you just said, people won't think twice about popping SSRI every day and not knowing what it does to your brain chemistry. Even like with men, what it can do to a lot of things like your libido long term, man, and mess you up. And people don't think twice. And again, like you said, this idea of like, oh, it's from a doctor,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still a pharmaceutical drug. And it's, again, to have something that is a natural plant, 10 out of 10 times, man, I'd go with that. And that's my personal opinion. I think you all feel the same way. But yeah, dude, it's crazy that people won't think twice about popping something. But then when it comes to like kava or kratom, they'll be like, oh, I'm a little afraid.
Yeah, it is very interesting to see that. And I would guarantee you that if you were to go to the doctor and they say, hey, for your pain relief, try kratom. If they told you that, you'd be like, oh, sure, where do I get it? But instead they say, hey, here's this pill, because that's what their industry is built around. That's what they're taught. So that's what they push. And you believe them because they went to school for it for so long. How could this person be wrong? Well, there's new science every day. There's a lot more newer education that's out there. And people are waking up to it. And they're learning that there's alternatives to the medicine. There's alternatives to what we've been taught. There's alternatives to everything else that's out there. And we just have to be open to it, because it's not something that they're going to tell us about yet. And I say yet because we know it's around the corner. Eventually, they're not going to be able to push it to the side, cover it up, and say this, that, or the other about it. They can't sit there and deny it when the evidence is right in front of them. The more science that we have, the bigger the community is, the more it's going to get out there. And eventually it becomes the norm, and practitioners end up following it. Slowly but surely it happens. There's a lot of really cool phase 3 clinical trials with a lot of really cool plant medicine out there. And it just excites me more and more, because it's changing the norm. It's going from, something chemically derived that affects your serotonin receptors to something that's natural, that benefits it instead of affecting it. You want to antagonize something in a positive way, not create long-term effects with agonists. And it's really, really serious, like what we don't pay attention to. What we just take for granted when it comes to that, and what we allow the doctors to say, hey, this is what you should take, this is what you should do. And we don't listen to the people with the science out there that's newer and say, hey, this is a good alternative. Or you sit there and you read something, be like, that can't be right because I heard this one thing on Reddit. And it's like, okay.
Oh, Reddit. But it's, interesting too, because I feel like that whole kind of mentality feeds into even some of the scrutiny around kava bars. Why, like, the average person, quote unquote, they don't think twice about going to a bar and slamming shots and drinking, because again, that's normal, right? That's part of society. Just like going back to the doctors and the typical drugs, that's normal, quote unquote. Then you have a kava bar where someone's never heard of kava kratom, or they'll Google kava and they'll say liver damage, right? Which we all know has been, I don't know why that's still a myth out there right now, but they'll be like, well, it's, it's a dietary supplement. It's not approved by the FDA. I'll just go take my shots because this maybe have a potential for liver damage. It's like you're drinking alcohol and you're, shitting on this natural plant that's been used for centuries over in the Pacific Islands. Right. And I think, like you said, though, I do think, this is my perception, so it's my bubble, but it seems like more people are waking up with their health and having kind of an awakening and looking at natural alternatives, kind of looking at what we've been told as a society and kind of being like, well, is that right? Or, this new science is actually saying all this stuff is false, So it is kind of cool to see that. And at the end of the day, man, like, for me, it's very much like if it comes from the earth, like kava, kratom, cannabis even, like, it's there for us to use. If you're making something in a lab, tweaking it and everything, I'm not saying there's medicine that's not beneficial, but me personally, I only feel safer with something that's in its natural form.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And there's, when it comes to medicine, I'm not going to sit here and bash all of medicine because
No.
for acute, serious situations, it can be life-saving.
Absolutely.
But that's for acute, not chronic. Chronic, where does it come from? What does it stem from? What do we need to get into our bodies? What do we need to take out of our bodies? What do we need to do to address it? But I really, truly agree with the whole effect. Like, people think that kava is going to cause liver damage because there was an article out there that got blown up and from a study that was cherry picked and it was contaminated product, and they said all this stuff so it gets banned in this place and that place, or it gets all this bad rep. But again, they'll drink alcohol saying, oh, well, kava might have an effect on the liver. Well, alcohol definitely has an effect on the liver. It has an effect on the kidney. Alcohol is one of two things that your liver has to process out, and it creates something 30 times more poisonous than the original product that you're consuming. When your body takes it in and makes acetaldehyde, that's what causes that hangover. It is completely neurotoxic. It will break your brain down slowly but surely.
Yes.
It causes Alzheimer's. We know this now. And people will still put that in their body on a regular basis.
I know, man.
I can't fathom it, and I can't do it to myself anymore personally.
100%.
Put all that work in, taking care of your body, eating right, going to the gym, going for runs, doing all that stuff. And then you take a couple of shots and you just reversed the last 2 weeks of what you did. If you do that once every 2 weeks, you're literally going nowhere. You're doing all that work and then you're setting yourself back. And I just can't fathom it.
Same.
Yeah, well, I know we said that we would love a tour. Is that something that we'd be able to
Absolutely.
to do? All right,
Absolutely.
let's do it.
So this is where it all happens. Right now we're actually set up for canning come Monday. So you see we had all the cans prepped out, ready to go. Yeah, we'll take you around this side and walk you through the process. So very simple, very basic. This is a steeping tank. So it's actually a traditional steep tank that's used for like kombucha, stuff like that. Since we steep our own tea here, we use crushed leaf, we don't use extract. So we go through the traditional process of brewing. We have a preparation for our kratom. It's a special preparation to get it ready so that way we get the most out of it without changing it at all. Because for us, it's extremely important that the kratom stays as it is, as natural as possible. We don't want any of the alkaloids to convert. We don't want anything to change in it. We want it to come out just like it would come out if you're just brewing it up front with, just hot water. It's very, very similar to that. But just a little bit of a preparation because we are doing it on a massive scale, so we have to make sure we do get everything out.
That is something I love about your guys' kratom drinks is you don't use extracts. You do the leaf, which is rare, and a lot of the kratom seltzer beverages I can't drink because the extract immediately gives me a headache. But yours is one of the few products that I can, and it doesn't affect me that way.
Yeah, like you said, we keep it that way for a reason because one, it's the most natural, it's the most widely accepted and the most easy to use for everybody, especially if they don't have a tolerance to it. If you have no tolerance to kratom and you have an extract, your body's typically not going to react very well. A lot of our product is actually consumed by our own bars, whether it's a franchise or our corporate stores. We have a lot of good online retail presence. We have a lot of wholesale customers, but probably about 70% of it almost goes to our own bars, whether they're franchise or they're corporate. We put out about 200 kegs in a day or about 5,400 cans in a day, depending upon what we're going through. Sometimes we'll actually do both of those at the same time. We'll end up putting out about 5,400 cans and about 200 kegs in one day. It just depends on what production is demanding and what product we're making, how fast we can get it pushed out, and be able to keep the quality up because we can't sacrifice quality for quantity. We never will.
Yeah.
So, but we go through quite a bit of product and it's just increasing on a daily basis. We have new franchise locations and new corporate locations opening on a regular. Summerlin's about to open here very, very soon. And we got a few franchises already out of the state and they're actually looking at opening up more. Some of the ones that already have franchises open are like, hey, we want a second, we want a third, and they're just growing really, really rapidly. So the product, most of it is actually consumed by our own bars, but slowly but surely, the wholesale market and the retail market is going to start taking it over really quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. I know offline we're talking a little bit like you guys, smoke shops, other places like that. A lot of people picking up the cans there, but also other kava bars are picking up these cans, consume them. So, what's the biggest reason you see people consuming the cans? I mean, we talked about a little bit. For obviously you can take it to the beach, you can grab it to go, but and with that too, do you think like any experience is lost in it, or when you go get a can, can someone expect the same exact thing they're getting from the tap in there? As far as like consistency, quality, everything all checks out the same.
Yeah, consistency and quality, it's all going to be the same from taps to cans. Some flavors might taste slightly different because of the pasteurization process versus non-pasteurization process. All of our cans are shelf stable, so they all go through a pasteurization process, which slightly milds out the tea taste of the kratom itself a little bit. So you'll notice sometimes the cans will have a little bit more of a subtle, smooth kind of taste versus the taps have a little bit more of a tea taste to it, but it's very, very subtle. You have to be an everyday kratom consumer to really notice the difference of it. The quality of the ingredients is all the same from one thing to the other. It's just the process which alters it slightly when it comes to the taste of it on your mouth, if you really know what you're looking for. Other than that, it's going to be the exact same thing, the exact same potency, the exact same quality, the exact same ingredients. And really the difference when it comes to the experience is where you're consuming it. We have a lot of people that come in here and they'll drink the taps at the bar, but we have a lot of people, like you said, they go and they grab cans and they head to the beach, they head wherever they're going to, and they're able to enjoy their day as they would, but instead of having the alcohol, they have this instead. And it's just giving them that freedom, because a lot of people, if they just don't drink alcohol, they have nothing to be able to enjoy their day with when their friends are sitting there drinking alcohol and they're not having anything. It's just they feel left out. So they're able to experience that on a different level.
I was gonna say, like, the cans I think are a good like social thing to have, because again, you go to the beach and people got their Bud Lights, they got their Modelo's, Corona, whatever your alcohol choice is, right? Sometimes it's hard to bring like a bowl of kava, sit there and mix it, or whatever it might be. So I think having those cans makes it in a way like cool, right? Like socially like acceptable, kind of more fun. Like, hey, I got this ready to go, but it's non-alcoholic. It gives me a nice option to go out and do my stuff with other people and still socialize.
Absolutely, and that's actually kind of how this ended up coming about. So one of the two sisters, Caroline, she ended up at a bar, a regular bar, and she didn't drink alcohol at all. And she's sitting there just drinking water. She wouldn't drink soda or anything else like that. She's just having water. And she's like, I wish that I had kava here. I wish that I had something that I could consume. There was nothing like that. You could, you had kava bars, but you had to go to a kava bar for that. You couldn't find it at another bar. Yeah. And then that's when she was like, okay, we need to figure out how to get this in other bars, cans, kegs, whatever it is. And shortly after, they brought me on to be able to figure it out and to get it, it's where it is now. And, awesome. It all comes from an idea and this one thing that we didn't have in that social setting. And we need this. We need an option there. And that's how it all basically happens. And it's really interesting. And I'm glad she had that idea, because now we have a lot more people that can go to bars, because you do find these now in bars. You do find these now in different places that you can go in a social setting and say, hey, I want that option, instead of like, oh, I'm just going to have water or tea.
Yeah, hands down. Well, cool. So I know you talked a little bit about kind of the process. Would you mind just kind of showing us, I guess, like where like the canning goes down? Because I think some people have never seen like the actual like can process. I think that's, what is that right here?
Yeah,
this area.
Yeah. So this is our canner. It is a 30 CPM, which means cans per minute. Puts out 1,800 cans per hour. So once we get our product made, filtered, and in the tank and carbonated, we then attach our lines up to our canner here, comes into the bottom, feeds into our 5-head filler. As they come out, they get sealed and then labeled and then onto the packing table Once they're in these trays from the packing table, they end up in the pasteurizer over there. They go for their allotted time, and then they're shelf stable. They get packed and taken over to the warehouse next door. It's a pretty simple process, but it took us a little while to be able to get it down because, you know, before this, there was nobody else that just did it. There was co-packers that did it, but there's no playbook when it comes to making this. You know, we were the first in the industry to get kratom going in kegs, and we were one of the first people to can kratom, especially as a crush leaf. We were the first when it comes to that. Okay. The only other people that did it before that were co-packers. So you had Lalo being made by a co-packer. You know, these kind of products are just made by co-packers. So they're not going to tell you how to make it. It's not like the brewing industry where there's a playbook. It's been done for thousands of years. We had to figure it all out and then go through the process. But you know, this is where it all happens. Very simple setup, but it's enough to be able to get what we need done on a regular basis and be able to get it out there in the same consistency and quality without sacrificing anything.
Now, did you have experience in brewing before you joined Botanical Brewing?
I had very little experience in anything to do with brewing or anything like that. I had a nutrition, science, and physical fitness background. So it's actually how I met Jacqueline, which is the other sister. So she actually came into my gym and I became her trainer and her nutrition coach. And she was like, you have a science mind. I think you can figure this out for us. So that's when they ended up bringing me on for it. And I love nutrition. I love science. I love something healthier for the body. I was in supplementation before that, and just knowing the chemical reactions that can happen in the body from something natural, it always excited me. And I had a food background before that as well, so flavor and science came together and it ended up making this.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's cool seeing. I say it's cool seeing like where everything goes down. You know, because I think a lot of people don't have like the. You know, they go to the store and they get the can. There's not much like thought behind. All right, what goes into this? And most of us, I think we have a good knowledge of like brewing because that's so prominent, right? When it comes like brewing beer, you know, a lot of people do that even like in their garages too, like they'll brew beer. But doing, you know, crush leaf, kratom, kava, either Delta 8, Delta 9, you know, it just takes it's a whole different science, right? And flavor aspect too. So I think to be able to see it all happen and what goes into it, you know, it's very eye-opening, and it's good for the consumer too to be like, all right, so this is where it comes from, how it's made, right? And you know, when it's in my hand, this is how it gets here. Yeah. So appreciate you taking us through the whole roundabout of it, man.
Yeah. No, I love being able to bring people back here and show them how we do this and how it goes down and all that. It's very important to me that that quality stays up really high. So that's why we stay as a very, very specific, more of a craft style location.
Yeah, I like that.
Even as we grow, it will still maintain that because of the way that we do things and the quality of which we do things and the way that it's controlled. We won't just throw it out there really fast.
100%, man. I think it's a good mentality to have, and at the end of the day, you know, it's caring for your customer. But like you said, especially in this community, you're around your customers, you see them drinking the product, so like you want to put something out that's gonna be the same thing that you would drink, right?
Absolutely.
So, no, I completely get that. So James, yeah, man, appreciate you taking, you know, Heidi and I back here, seeing, like I said, where the magic happens and the whole process, and just, you know, give us a little glimpse into your world.
All right, brought you guys a flight.
Nice.
Awesome, thank you.
These are our top sellers, I would say, when it comes to what we have on tap. So starting from this side, working down, we have our Tiki Apple, which is our green vein, our Island Breeze, which is going to be our white, our Blueberry Lemonade, which is our red, and then one of our Kavas, our Tutti Frutti.
Nice.
It's like a rainbow sherbet Kava. It's probably one of the most popular when it comes to the Kava flavors, although the Orange Dream is right up there with it. Yeah, no, it's honestly, Island Breeze is probably one of my favorite go-tos, but the Tiki Apple is our top seller.
Try this
when it comes to the kratoms.
Try the Tutti Frutti.
Yeah, that's good, man.
It's got that
is good.
mild,
Tastes no kratom to this
yeah,
at all.
it's a very simple, almost like a tropical
That's good.
blend.
I like too that that's not super sweet. That's really big for us. We like sweetness, but not too sweet.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Ooh.
And Kava's hard to mask too, man.
Ooh, I do like that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And what vein is this?
That's our white.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Island Breeze. It's honestly for this single strength, it's my favorite. I love our
Yeah.
Cat 5. That's one of my go-tos.
That's good.
But
That Cat 5 was good, dude.
Yeah.
That was good, man.
when I drink the single strains, I typically go to Island Breeze. Blueberry lemonade is my next one. I love our tiki apple. I've just had so much of it for so long that I'm going towards
You're tiki appled out.
Yeah.
Too much of a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are good.
Tiki apple is good though.
Oh yeah,
It is good.
It's not like that, like, you know, some like apple
Try this
flavor. It's too like apple juicy. This one's not. It's a little bit more mellow. This is the
Yeah.
blueberry one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we try to make it more like a little bit like a sour apple, so it has
Yeah.
a little bit of that apple cider flavor.
This is my guy.
Blueberry
Dude, the
lemonade.
blueberry is
he
good,
likes
man.
blueberry. Like blueberry pie is his favorite too. So.
Oh my god, this is so good. And
I
this-
do think
what-
that island
what vein is
vibes,
this?
that would
That's our
be
This is red.
Yeah.
Okay.
okay. Yeah, those are good. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Yeah, the blueberry lemonade, like I said, right after the Island Breeze, if I'm going to go to a red of any kind, I end up getting our blueberry lemonade. I don't even bother with the mixed drinks when it comes to that.
Okay.
We use pure organic blueberry juice when it comes to it, and pure organic lemon juice for our juices.
Now, what do you sweeten your beverages with?
Currently, we're using agave and monk fruit.
Okay.
We are
Perfect.
working on the recipes a little bit to be able to change it up a little bit, because I'm always about following the most current science and making sure that everything is the best metabolically for
Yeah.
everybody.
Absolutely.
Very important, because we're trying to be the healthier option on a regular basis and keep that up, and we want to be ahead of the curve when it comes to that. And it doesn't just have to do with the basic, main ingredients with the kava and the kratom and stuff like that to keep that quality up there. It has to do with the science behind what everything else in the can does to you or for you. And it's really important. It's where a lot of people end up missing the mark.
Yeah.
They'll use things like sucralose, and all those artificial things, or when there's benzoates in cans. It just makes me cringe, because we know what benzoates do to the body, and we know what sucralose does. I just also can't stomach the taste of somewhat sucralose.
Same, bro.
Yeah,
I have a
and
hard time.
We just don't drink artificially sweetened things often. And so for us, it's just so sweet. And we always say, we review products with sucralose. And for people who drink that often, they want that sweetness. So I get it. Like, I always say there's a customer for everyone, for every product, but we definitely appreciate a more natural sweetened product. And in my opinion, I think it tastes better.
Absolutely. And there's space in the market for, like you said, everybody has their own palate.
Right.
Everybody has their thing that they go to. Some people prefer that as their taste, their sweetener, because it does have a very specific flavor to it. And I'm not going to knock anybody for what they enjoy. You enjoy what you enjoy, and I'm not going to try to change that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring what we do to the market, and if you enjoy it, great. That's awesome, and we've done something good for it. But
Yeah, and I will say though, I do find it interesting that we go to Kava and Kratom and some of these to live a healthier lifestyle, and I'm not knocking companies who don't use what you guys are using, but
It's a little hypocritical.
yeah, but I think people will probably start demanding it more, because again, even going back to the beginning, we're talking about the whole health awakening, right? I think people are starting to pick up their labels and reading everything on the back and be like, okay, what's this ingredient? What's this ingredient? What's this thing I can't pronounce, right? What does this do to my body? And typically, and again, I'm generalizing here, but most people who drink kava, kratom tend to be a little bit more healthier lifestyle, right? They left like alcohol, they left their drugs. A lot of people are in the fitness, and kind of that lifestyle, and are mindful of what they put in their body. So I agree with you in the sense that everything that's in it should match that level. And that is kind of like our knock sometimes when we do see products or get our products and have like a lot of artificial ingredients, and it's like, well, that's not the effect I'm looking for, right? I'm looking for the holistic effect. Like, I'm drinking kava because I'm living a healthy lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
I don't want all the extra stuff in it, man. I want it as natural as can be. I'm okay with a little, natural sugar from fruit juices.
Honestly, yeah, I would prefer sugar, like pure cane sugar, over sucralose and erythritol personally.
And some people are like, oh, well, it's like the sugar and stuff. And we always tell people, like, if 6, 10, even 15 grams of sugar is ruining your day, we should probably take a look at your macros and everything else, because if that's derailing you, then like we gotta talk.
Yeah.
It's all about how it is derived, what it is, and a little bit of sugar shouldn't be affecting you like that,
Right.
especially if it's natural. If something is more natural and it's not ultra processed, your body's actually going to respond to it pretty well. And if it's not, what else is going on in your body? What else do you need to be addressing? Because if you're having trouble processing a small amount of sugar, then you need to look at what else you're putting in your body, or what else you have put in your body before that you might need to work on to get that reversed. Because some people have a little bit of desensitivity to insulin. They don't process carbohydrates very well, so that little bit has a dramatic effect. But they can do a very simple liver and kidney detox and change their reaction really fast.
And I would argue also the average person is very undermuscled, and that will affect their insulin sensitivity as well. Absolutely. Which I know you have. That's a big part of why we started Kava and Kettlebells, is because we are so fitness oriented, and we think, in our opinion, that's an essential part that everyone should be focusing on. And I know you have a history with fitness as well, so I'd love to hear how that kind of brought you, like how Kava and Kratom played to that realm of your life as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I went through a big life struggle, and I went downhill, and I was drinking way too much alcohol, and I found that I wasn't enjoying myself. I wasn't liking where I was at. I was in this really negative mindset, and I fell off of nutrition and fitness and all that. And it wasn't until I started coming back a little bit, waking up, and realizing I don't like this. Yeah. And I came back to the field of nutrition, came back into fitness, and I dove deep into it. I ended up getting multiple certifications in not only personal training, but nutrition and supplementation. I studied molecular nutrition on a regular basis, and it's a passion that I have for it. I've been in this industry when it comes to health and wellness for almost a decade now, and I wouldn't have it any other way, because it's not going to work out or just eating clean why I do it. It's the way that it affects people. It's when you talk to somebody that's dealing with something, and you give them that one little piece of advice that they've never heard before. You help them with one little problem that they've never had help with before, and it changes their life. So when I got into this, it changed me a little bit, and it made me look at things differently, and it brought me to the next part of my fitness journey. And I just got deeper and deeper and deeper into it, and just started more about nutrition, more about how we're reacting to these different things, what the negative side effects of everything else were. It's actually how I found Kava. I said I gave up alcohol, and then I ended up meeting Caroline. Then I met Jacqueline, and next thing you know, they're like, hey, you seem science-minded. Let's have you come in and help us out with this. And it was just a snowball effect from going from one thing to the next that led me down that path to where I was supposed to be. Everything happens for us for a reason. And we all go through the struggles to find out where we're supposed to be. And that was part of it. I went down a little bit of that fitness path, but then I fell off. And it took me falling off to be able to find where I actually was supposed to be. Because I wouldn't have found Kava or Kratom if I didn't fall off. I wouldn't have wanted to give up alcohol and found this alternative to it if I didn't fall off. So it was not just the fitness aspect itself, but it was going down to the bottom and realizing I didn't want to be there. Like, the negative mindset that alcohol had given me was horrible. Yeah. It was devastating. And when I found Kava, it changed how I looked at fitness, because there was this whole other avenue. There was this whole other thing that I was never exploring before. Because I would go and I would still want to have, a drink here or there before I ever gave it up. And I'd be like, oh, and then putting myself behind. And then I gave it up, and I just felt like I was lacking. Yeah. I felt like I didn't have that there, that social interaction. And when I found that, it changed it. And it really it catapulted me further into the health and wellness, not just fitness in itself, but the full health and wellness aspect of it. And then it just, pushes me further. It gets me wanting to go and learn something else, whether it's about working out, and how our bodies respond to something like hypertrophy, or, it's finding, hey, this one part of this plant helps us to be able to endure a little bit longer in the gym, helps us to be able to go a little bit further, to be able to adapt a little bit more. And it's those fun little science things when it comes to nutrition and health.
I'm with you, man. That's how I kind of am too. And, I think that the more you get involved in the lifestyle, it's intoxicating in the sense that you feel better each morning. You're working out, right? Like you see changes, and it's not just like a conceited thing, like, oh, I want to look better, but it's empowering, right? You're seeing changes in the mirror, you're feeling better, you get more confidence, just it all ties in. And I think that going back to, you kind of mentioned like hitting rock bottom, and what I always tell people, even for myself, is like fitness is like such a rock for your lifestyle. It can get you through anything. The best times of my life, I've had fitness. The worst times of my life, I've had fitness. It's the one constant thing, right? For me, it's the gym. I like weightlifting. That's kind of like my passion. For someone else, it might be something different. But regardless, like, I think people need to have like that physical outlet of pushing themselves, daily. Otherwise, I do think it leads to like unfulfillment, and like our body is like a pride to go do stuff. Like, we need to do things and have that outlet.
And I tell my clients all the time, because people look at fitness as a chore, and I say you can't see it as a chore. You have to see it as a tool to be the best version of yourself. And I always ask them, like, what are things that you're passionate about in life, whether that's your kids or teaching or painting or whatever it might be, being in a good physical state that will help you be the best version of all of those. Like, it'll help you paint better. It will help you have a better mind. It'll help you teach better. It'll help you be a better parent. And I feel like people just need to change their mindset with it and realize that it's not this chore. It's not this punishment. It is a blessing. Like, people should wake up with the mindset of, I'm so blessed that I can move my body and I can do this to enhance myself, to be the best version, of myself. So I love to hear, all the science and how you brought that, to these beverages to just make it like a holistic, lifestyle in that sense.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. When it comes to, working out, people really shouldn't look at it as like a chore. You got to look at it as like, this is something I'm doing for myself, not to myself.
Yes.
This is something that I'm going to benefit from. Science has proven that if you choose to work out, even if you're doing these other negative things, if you choose to work out, you're actually going to live a longer, healthier life, even with those. Now, you take out those negative things, and now you're going to leave
Supercharged.
So it's proven, it's science backed. We need to be able to lift weights. It doesn't have to be crazy, heavy, it doesn't have to be extreme, but we need to lift weights. It's good for our bones because it creates tension on our muscle. When you create tension on your muscle, you're going to be able to have a healthier life so far as your bone structure, how dense your bones are. When you don't use your muscles, your bones start to weaken.
Yep.
This is when people start breaking their hips when they get older.
Yeah.
People start breaking limbs. They fall and they're like, I don't know how I broke my arm. I don't know how I broke my leg. I just fell. Well, have you been lifting? Have you been working out? Have you been taking care of yourself? These physical demands that we place on our body are there to be able to help us. Our bodies will adapt to anything, whether it's negative or positive. It's a law of specificity. And if you do not place the specific demands on it, nature will require it from you, and it will take away from you. But if you place those demands upon it, your body will adapt to it in a beneficial way. And you will see that response. You will see that outcome. And your body will grow stronger. It will grow denser. It will adapt to these stressors and say, hey, all right, what you got next? What are you going to throw at me? Because it needs to survive. This is part of our survival needs. But if we don't demand it of it, guess what? You don't survive.
Yeah.
Because you're not demanding it of your body. So it's simple, basic science. We did this for thousands of years without knowing what it was because we had to go out there and run.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a
climb,
necessity.
Jump, and do all these things. But now we're comfortable. So it becomes more of a chore, like you said, because, it's not the easy thing in life. I'd rather just sit on my couch. You're never going to get better being comfortable. It just won't happen.
Yeah.
You see all these devices and all this stuff where, I can sit there and hook this up and I'll be able to, work my muscles. It doesn't work.
She
It's funny you
gets
say that.
clients.
I have clients all the time who ask me, and they're like, "Can't I just use this belt that will just like?" I'm like, if you really thought that worked, why would we be the most obese country in the world? Like, if that really worked.
But even still, like, even if you had, and this is what I think about a lot too. It's like, okay, like, yes, what if I had this like pill I could take, and it would give me all the benefits of what I do right now, and it would,
like aesthetically and
that
health.
and all the health benefits, right? It would make me like give me the ideal physique I want, and it would give me all the health benefits. But part of the fitness journey and part of working hard every day is the mental and the resilience it gives you. And because if you just took a pill and it gave you that, you wouldn't appreciate it. It's just like if someone, let's say like the rich kid example, if his parents just gave him a bunch of money, like he's not going to appreciate that first car he goes and buys. He's not going to appreciate that first house he goes out and get. Same thing, if you just gave someone their dream body or whatever it is, they're not going to appreciate it. They're not going to have all that work that went into getting it.
Yeah.
And I think so much of that too is the fitness journey, is that, those 4 a.m., waking up at 4 a.m., meal prepping, getting in the gym when you don't want to and getting through the grind. Because then when you're done, you're like, fuck, I feel so much better. I did that.
And that alone, having that discipline is what I feel like people don't understand is, yes, you're disciplined in doing that, and that's going to benefit your body and your health, but that is going to benefit every other aspect of your life as well. And there's been studies about business owners that they're more successful in their business, the ones who work out, and the ones who don't work out are less successful, and their businesses are less successful. And it's just being a disciplined person, it's not just fitness, it compounds in every aspect of your life. And yeah, we're passionate about it.
Absolutely, and it's a good thing to be passionate about. Like you said, it's part of the journey. And the cool thing about a journey is the road isn't always smooth. And it's those bumps along the way that actually make you more stable, because if you're not challenged to be unstable, then you're not going to expect anything coming down the road that makes you it just out of nowhere. If you challenge yourself and you push yourself and you take that journey, you take the bumps along the way and you learn to adapt to it, you become stronger, you become more resilient. It's those tough moments that define you, not just physically but mentally. And that's part of it. You said taking a pill, yeah, okay, if I could get everything I want out of this, but there's no mental resilience there. You're not pushing yourself to do something and to become uncomfortable. You're only getting a portion of it. And really, a lot of the mental benefits are going to happen from that. It's not just the chemical mental benefits, but it's actually getting yourself out of your comfortable zone. It's pushing yourself to do something that, okay, yeah, this isn't what I'd prefer to be out on a boat right now. Yeah, I would love to do that.
Drinking my kratom drinks.
Exactly. But you know what? I know that my body is going to benefit from this. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to hit my 45 minutes. I'm going to do a little bit of cardio at the end, and I'm going to feel so much better, and I'm going to live a happier and healthier life. And it's putting in that time and that effort on a regular basis. It's part of the journey. And the easy journeys don't take you anywhere good. The road to Shangri-La was one of the toughest roads, the toughest pathways to ever traverse for its time. But it led to one of the most beautiful places that you could ever get to. It's the same thing with our bodies and our minds. If it's not challenging, it's not rewarding. And that's the simple truth.
I think that's a good mic drop right there. No, man. Agree with you on all fronts with that, and I enjoyed this conversation, and to be around this, talking this, man, because it all ties in. And again, it's a good thing to show that like this lifestyle is so cool, and there's so many facets to it, and something like drinking kava can open that up, and these plants, right? It can lead people down to all these different paths, but in my opinion, they're good paths to go down. I'm not saying you can't go to an alcohol bar and not make a friend or not make a good connection, but like
You may not remember it, but
yeah, you probably won't remember it. But there's so much good that comes out of these spaces, and for you guys to provide that, but also have that wellness aspect in mind, I think is a very positive and needed benefit to the community that y'all are doing here. even going back to the drinks, man, just the mindfulness behind it, the consumer mind about, okay, live a healthier lifestyle. And you go into the space right here, and I know you guys got the cold plunge out there, right? Which I guess we'll see if maybe we
I've
get into
never
that, but-
actually done one. We'll see if I can handle
That's where
it.
that mental fortitude comes
Exactly.
There
So
you go.
maybe we got to put our money where the mouth is.
Well, you know what? As we kind of wrap things up, I would love for you to leave our audience with, just any last words that you have, and also let them know where they can find you both in person and, online, and sort of follow your journey in botanical brewing. And yeah, we'll kind of go from there.
Absolutely. So for us here, it's all about bringing kava to the people. Okay, it's all about how we can help people with our plant medicine and our herbal options. So that's our big focus and our big push. For us, it's all about all the buzz without the booze, and helping people out in that way. And you can go to botanicalbrewingco.com and be able to get our drinks online, shipped to you anywhere in the country, as long as they allow you to have kratom there. There are a few places that are still a little bit closed-minded, but you know what?
We just came from Alabama, so
Yep.
You won't catch me there for that reason. But or you can go to any of our Kava Cultures, or here at Botanical Brewing Company in Cape Coral. We do also have a Botanical Brewing tap room in Lakeland, Florida. We have our Kava Cultures all the way from Key West all the way up into Orlando. We have them in Ohio and in Texas now. So you can get our store locator map and see where we're at. Or you can challenge yourself. Come down here any Saturday or Sunday from 12 to 3 and hop in that cold water and get yourself your favorite beverage. It's all about giving people the better options in life and challenging yourself to do something better for yourself.
Oh yeah, we appreciate it, James, and I know we got a Bula Bomb coming our way, but again, appreciate the hospitality today, taking us around, showing us your world, and awesome conversation, brother. I appreciate it, man.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you for coming down. It's been my pleasure showing you around, chatting with you guys. It's always great to meet people in a like-minded community.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, James. And for our listeners, we usually end with a bula. We're going to do it a little different today. So we're going to go back to the bar, and you're going to show us how you do your bula bombs.
All right.
Let's go.
All righty.
All right. So shells up. I just wanted to thank you guys for coming down, doing this podcast with me. It's been awesome. I really appreciate having you guys here and helping us bring kava to the people. Bula!
Bula! Nice.
Good. Awesome.
That was the first. I can't believe you did that.
Good job.
Oh.